It's the I Can't Mom Today podcast with Heather, the new mom, and Vera, the seasoned mom. I Can't Mom Today.
Hey, this is Heather and Vera with another episode of I Can't Mom Today podcast. Hi, Vera.
Hey, Heather.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. And I hope all of you are doing fantastic as well. Although you're probably, you're anything like me or Vera, we listen to podcasts in our car. So we're fighting traffic and trying to ignore the screams from the back seat.
Exactly. Yep. Drowning stuff out.
I hope the traffic's okay for you and kids are behaving. Or maybe you're on your work and this is the time that this is your solace time. You're like, no kids. I'm not at work.
Yay. Calgon, take me away. Or Heather and Vera, take me away.
Yes. So today we are going to talk to Vera about some things that have been going on. She's alluded to it here and there throughout our podcast, but she's been having a lot of health issues. And as a mom, it's really hard. And I'm a new mom, granted. Like, I don't even know the caliber of being sick with a child. I know I was sick for about a month with a cold that just never went away. And that was really tough, and it was a big cold. It wasn't like a man cold. Like, it was a severe cold.
Man cold.
So I wanted to talk a little bit more to Vera because there may be a time that I am not, I have prolonged illness, or maybe one of you have a prolonged illness and you're having to navigate momhood with this. So Vera, tell us what's going on.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it started out where my hands were getting stiff and I was like, what is going on? And then my joints started to swell. And long story short, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease called undifferentiated connective tissue disease, which basically means swollen, sore joints. And
when did all this start? Give them a time frame.
It started, I would say, well, it's kind of funny because hindsight, of course, is 2020. Mm-hmm. I think I started to notice that my energy was starting to wane some, probably about, I don't know, maybe about a year and a half ago. And I thought, well, I don't know. I need to change my diet. I need to do this or that or whatever. And then I did start to get these random, like my elbow would hurt. And I'd be like, did I fall on my elbow? What the heck happened here?
Mm-hmm.
But then it would go away. And then something else would hurt and my knee would hurt. And so I just thought I twisted something, I'm getting a little older. Here we go, So then in April... we do this parade every year. It's called Springtime Tallahassee. And so I was in the parade and dancing down the street and doing my thing. And then my arm was really sore. My wrist was really sore. And I thought, again, maybe I just overdid it. And my hands started to get stiffer and stiffer. So between the beginning of April and by Memorial Day, it was to the point where I was in a constant pain in my wrists and my fingers would get numb just super easy. And I went to the doctors trying to figure out what the heck is going on. And that's when they ran a bunch of tests. In the meantime, I had to change my diet. I went off of gluten and off soy and off of aspartame, which is NutraSweet. So that means no Diet Coke, which I miss so badly. But those things did help some. And now I'm on medication, but the medication takes 6 months to work, if it works. And I'm still, in the meantime, in pain and not sleeping well. And, when you're hurting, it's really hard to be in a good mood. So, when your kid is like, Mom, how come you were late picking me up? Why is my cello like this in the back seat of the car? You're like, it hurts to drive. Just get off my back, man. So here we are in November, and it's a constant struggle. And then my poor husband, luckily now he's semi-retired, but he's had to pick up on a lot of the household duties because I can't really use my hands. Like, I'm like one of those people, one of those those games with the claw game where you try and win a stuffed animal and you put you press the button with the joystick and try and get the claw to grab the stuffed animal and then drop it in the little slot.
And you almost get it every time.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of the way my hands are.
Oh, no.
So every time I pick something, like I've dropped stuff and, it's just very frustrating. So my poor husband has been wonderful and supportive, but even he forgets sometimes because I'm not going to act like I'm sick all the time because I don't want to bring everybody else down. But, it's like, I'm like, nobody understands. And when you're the mom, you're just kind of, everybody looks to you as the At least that's the way it feels. Like you're kind of the one holding everything together. I know what the schedules are. You know, I know what to get at the grocery store. I know what everybody's favorite milk is. I know what, and
What's
some things
mine?
I can't get. What's yours? I don't know yours.
Coconut milk.
Coconut milk. Okay, now I know. But yeah, so it's that kind of stuff. But I can't if my husband needs me to pick up a case of beer or something, I can't, because I can't lift the case of beer and put it in the cart, Yeah. So it's just all that kind of stuff that you deal with, and all the emotions that you go through, like guilt, because you feel like you're not being a good mom or a good wife. Of course, mom guilt and frustration, like I said, because you feel like they'll say, I don't want to, I had a box in the back of my car that I couldn't get out it sat in the back of my car for like a week because I asked my husband to do it. And he's like, oh, ask Luke. So I go to Luke, and Luke's doing homework, and I don't want to interrupt his homework to get a box out of my car. So,
yeah.
But I'm like, yeah, freaking box is going to sit there now. I can't get it out. So it's stuff like that. It's really, and I've thought a lot, something like 5% of people, at least I think in the US, have some sort of autoimmune disease. And when you have an autoimmune disease, it's chronic, like they wax and wane. Usually your symptoms will go away for a little while and then come back and go away and come back, depending on if you're stressed out or whatever. Mm-hmm. So that's 5%, 5 out of, every 100 people. That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
So, and probably a significant amount are moms. And plus, like I said, the dietary restrictions that I have, that makes it harder too, because then I've got to try and cook. But if your hands don't work, you can't cook. And then you want to make something that your kid likes, like mac and cheese. But then do you make it with gluten-free pasta? And what if he says, ew, gross, gluten-free pasta? Or do you, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's just really difficult. So I've tried to look at, there are a lot of blogs and stuff online that you can look at and see how other people manage it. But going to a shrink helps a lot, at least for me.
Nice. I think there's such a stigma about going to a psychiatrist or a psychologist or a counselor. I think so many people are like, oh, I can't say it out loud.
Yeah.
I can't say it to people. And it's so silly because our mental health, sometimes our minds really do create so many problems in our lives.
Yeah, well, that's what, like with autoimmune diseases, they say avoid stress all you can, because stress will totally flare it. Like, absolutely, positively flare it up for you. So
and our society isn't built stress-free or stress-free.
No.
It's very high stress, and just in general. I mean, people with no kids are very high stress. Even it's insane how our communities are so unforgiving and unkind to other people. And I'm not saying everybody don't. It's not a generalization. It's just more often than not, we have so much pressure put on us.
Yes.
And how to keep that pressure low. I mean, you are one of the most positive people that I've met, and you probably have lower stress than most people, because you work for yourself, but you have that high stress of trying to figure out what money is going to be coming in, because you do voiceover work. And so it's not always people throwing jobs at you as much as you'd like it to be that way. I mean, you've been successful, but you at least don't have a boss or a board or something telling you, like, blah.
Yeah. No, that's very true. And that's when I tried to go back to full-time radio again, not too long ago, I realized when I decided to leave again, I realized that working for other people just doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
I do better working for myself, because if you screw up and you're working for someone else and you already feel bad because you screwed up, and then if you have the kind of boss that makes you feel worse for screwing up, then it's just double. It's like twofold. But sorry, I'm digressing a little bit. But going back to what you were saying, I feel like we're socialized a little bit almost to be like, if you're not suffering or working to the point of exhaustion, then there's like an attitude, I think, of like, you're not working hard enough.
Yeah, or you're not dedicated enough.
Right, you're not dedicated enough. Like, you're not, and this goes for the job of being a mom too. It's almost like you're supposed to be everywhere and everything to everyone. And if you're not, and you're not exhausted and you're not like ready to collapse at the end of every day, then you're not dedicated enough. You're not doing enough.
Yeah, definitely. You're smarter.
Yeah. And that's what, again, when we talked about this whole podcast is like, you got to forgive yourself and give yourself a little, especially, if you're someone who's suffering from a chronic illness, like what I've been dealing with. If you don't forgive yourself, and if you don't, that I notice when I'm pushing myself too hard, and like I'll go to pick some, like the other day, I dropped one of my favorite Pyrex pans, so it's glass.
Yeah.
And it slid out of because again, I couldn't catch it as it slid out of the cabinet, and it literally crashed at my feet. I almost totally cut up my feet. Thank God the way it fell, but so I'm standing there like near tears, and my husband's like, it's okay. And I'm like, I can't hold anything. And I was kind of my feet. It's my favorite Pyrex, and we got it as a wedding present. And,
Yeah.
So he was so sweet. He's like, just stand there, because I have flip flops on. So he lifted me out of the shards of glass and like moved me away and swept it all up. He's like, it's okay. He was so wonderful about it. But I knew I was pushing myself too hard. I was trying to do too much. And that's what happens,
Yeah.
You screw up.
I know. Being someone that is going through this, how would you, what advice do you have for our listeners that may be going through it, but they have a boss that they need to tell this to? And, like how does that go?
Yeah, there's a delicate balance, because this all started when I was working full time before, and just being very honest with your boss, like, because there was a part of me that was like, nobody wants to hear about this stuff. They don't want to hear about my crap, So part of me was prone to just saying I'm having some health problems, period. But then I had tons of doctor's appointments, and I had, so I learned you need to tell as much as you can without telling too much, which isn't very specific. But say, like for me, I just said, look, it's this autoimmune chronic thing. They're working on it, but it means I'm going to have to go to the doctor a lot. And I hope you can understand. I just want to get better. And so I want to get better so I can do my job better. So, and I'm focused on that. So if you can bear with me, I will communicate as much as what's going on, to make sure I do my job as best as I can and get better as best as I can so that I can be even better, was basically what I learned. Like, go ahead and tell them what's going on with you. Because I think some of us would be prone to just saying, well, that's too TMI, it's too much information, or I don't need to involve them in all of this. And they're, not trying to be my friend, but if they know what's going on, I think it makes them feel at ease. The boss would,
And I'd follow that up with an email that it's in writing.
Yeah.
And just say, hey, per our conversation, I just wanted to recap what we spoke about. So you're not. So if something does come back down at you, that you are able to say, nope, I told you about this and we agreed upon it.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Exactly.
It's a sticky subject, and it's a sticky thing to maneuver. So it's just, man, I can't, like, I know just with pregnancy, I had a ton of doctor's appointments because I was a high risk pregnancy because I was so old. And
it was a geriatric pregnancy.
Yeah.
Like Meghan Markle. That's what they're calling her pregnancy, geriatric.
Exactly. No, exactly. I think I was the same age as her when I got pregnant. Anyways, there was a ton of doctor's appointments. So it's like trying to take 3 hours out of your day once a month to go to the doctor. And then towards the end, it's every other week. And,
Yeah, no, that's definitely something. And like we were saying earlier, seeing a counselor, that's another doctor's appointment, but that totally helps. Again, whether you're dealing with just being a busy mom, or whether you're someone like me who has this issue, physical issue, it keeps your head on straight. I think and I probably go about once every 2 or 3 weeks. I don't go every week, but I just call it my emotional oil change, like I just kind of flush out all the crap.
Yeah. And there are counseling services that you can do on the internet now.
Yeah.
That you can
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go for it.
Well, I was going to say, I actually just voiced a commercial here in Florida. At least the Children's Home Society is doing that for children. So they can. So if the kid feels weird about going to a counselor somewhere else, you can do it via like Skype or something. You know? So I'm sure there's something like that for adults.
Yeah, I know there is.
Yeah,
I just don't know any offhand.
Yeah. Well, you could probably just do a search, like you know, online accredited counseling or whatever. And see, and it might even be cheaper, but my health insurance covers part of my fees anyway. I just have to pay like a copay.
Yeah, a lot of people don't. A lot of companies don't.
Ugh, which is so crazy to me. Because going back to what we were saying, is if your head's screwed on right, it helps you physically. Like it's a no-brainer if you ask me.
Yeah. And like for us, we are, my husband's military. So we have military insurance and they do not cover counselors. However, they have some on staff at the base and you can go to them. And it's just, that's kind of a hard situation too, because while they are giving you solutions, the solutions aren't always necessarily a good fit. I saw a counselor for a while before my pregnancy and I didn't know that, I didn't feel that a lot of problems were being resolved. And I don't know. I just didn't feel comfortable with it, but there were no other options. So I went.
Yeah. Well, that's I will say that too, though, that just because you find a counselor doesn't mean it's that they're the best one for you. So that's another thing. Cause I know I got lucky. I happened upon this one that I've been going to now off and on since before Luke was born. But I have been once or twice when I was younger. My parents took me to a counselor and she didn't figure me out. Like I just totally BS'd her and just told her what she wanted to hear. And now as an adult looking back, I realized she wasn't a very good counselor. So they're not all good. So if you don't feel like, if you find one, you're like, it really didn't do anything for me, you can just keep trying. Cause
my mom took me to one when I was like kid and like the first visit she like tried to put me in hypnosis. I'm like, what is this joke? This is a joke, right? I pretended along, but it was just not work. I was like, this is stupid.
Oh my God. Well, and you're so funny because you can be so kind of, how do we say, sarcastic. I can only imagine 13-year-old Heather being and like
I think I was 16, so it's even worse.
Oh God. Yeah. This is total bull crap. I can't believe that I'm here doing this. Oh my God.
No, I just placated her. I was like, okay, yeah. I'm breathing. That wasn't for me, but that may be for somebody, but it was not for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that brings
now I would probably do it because I could take a nap. I'd be like, all right, I'm zoning out.
Right? Totally hypnotized. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, that's okay. So another option too, I was going to say, is meditation. And there are some really good meditation apps out there that are not expensive. I actually found one, they call it hypnosis, but it's really meditation. And it's called it's by Surf City. And there's a whole bunch of ones one to relax, they even have ones like to quit smoking and lose weight and eat right and, to relieve anxiety. But they're short. They're only it's kind of like listening to a podcast. I think they're about 20 minutes long. And I would recommend something like that too. If you don't want to do a counselor, something like that, just to bring yourself down.
A website or an app?
It's an app. If you do a search under Surf City,
I think you're a paid app.
It is. You can try it for free, and then if you like it, then you pay it. I think, but it's not expensive. It was like $10, I think, for three different versions. So I got de-stress and lose weight, and I think there's another one called mindful eating that I bought. So it's not expensive.
Nice.
So, and again, easy. So if you have a little one that's maybe takes a nap at 1:00 in the afternoon. And if you're staying at home with them, put in your headphones and do your thing.
Or your lunch break, maybe.
Yeah, or the lunch break. Yeah. Just to recharge. I highly recommend that. Like when I was having trouble sleeping, I used that app to help me go to sleep and it was amazing.
That's awesome. I need to do more meditation, but my meditation right now is my sleep.
Yeah.
Can't wake up any earlier.
Hey man, whatever works. Sleep is very important.
Work, but I can't lose any more sleep. I can't do it.
No, like we've talked about before, the sleep, again, very crucial. But when you have a kid or kids, they don't always make it so easy for you to sleep.
Totally. And just to get back kind of on subject, I know that you weren't getting really a lot of answers. So I think something else too is empowering yourself. Like, don't just take the first answer that somebody gives you. Get a second opinion. If that doesn't feel right and they're not really giving you answers, because that's like your answers are not really answers. Even though you have a quote unquote diagnosis, you are still continuing to do research and you're still continuing to learn more and become more educated so that you can feel better.
Yeah. And I used to be one of those people that the doctor said it's this, and I'm like, okay. And now with this, I think when I try to put a positive spin on things, it's a learning experience for me to be my own advocate and start researching and talking to people and figuring out, well, what more can I do than what this doctor is telling me, and what other kind of doctor can I go see? And, and then I just learned about this thing with the Epstein-Barr virus that, which is the monovirus, that they're saying that could be the root of most autoimmune diseases, and that some traditional treatments won't work, like possibly for me, because they want to downplay your immune system with the medications. But that's actually the opposite of what you really need to do if it's a reactivated Epstein-Barr virus. So not to get too clinical, but I wouldn't have discovered that without talking to people and then going, oh, I need to look that up online, and then looking it up and then trying to go to credible websites like Mayo Clinic and all that. And sure enough, that's some of the research is saying that. So definitely being your own advocate and researching as much as you can helps too, and talking to people, just being open, like a podcast and just throwing it all out there. You never know how many other people are dealing with something similar to what you may be dealing with. So not feeling down makes you feel so much better too, because then you're like, yeah, me too.
Yeah. So to wrap things up, one big key that Vera has done is it empowered herself to make those right decisions for herself, and knowing her limits and being able to talk to people about this and not being quiet about it. Because great, we're not saying tell everybody, but be honest with people, because I know, and it wasn't the same as you as in your circumstance, but for me, I had a miscarriage, before I got pregnant, and I know I didn't know anybody with a miscarriage. And then I started asking people about it, and they're like, oh yeah, I've had one. I'm like, why don't you people talk about this? Not that I want you to play like, telling everybody, screaming it from the top of buildings, but my friends, my good friends, my family. And I'm just like,
why didn't anybody talk to me about this? Yeah. Because it's kind of like one of those things where you don't want to walk into a room and go, what's up? I just had a miscarriage, So it's tough. Yeah. There's a delicate balance.
Yeah. But like when people ask me, like, oh, when are you and Brad gonna have kids? I'm like, well, we tried, we had a miscarriage, and I would just be very honest, and people would be uncomfortable. I'm like, don't feel sorry. We're going to still try, but that's to answer your question, or maybe you shouldn't ask those questions.
Yeah. If you don't want to know, don't friggin' ask me.
Yeah. Mind your own business. Like parenting and, children are not always clean and easy.
That's right. That's good.
We would love to hear your stories you can post them on Facebook, or you can email us. And we'd love to, if you have something that may be beneficial to our group, or if you just want some support, reach out to us. It's I Can't Mom Today on Facebook, I Can't Mom Today Podcast on Instagram, and you can email us at ican'tmomtodaypodcast@gmail.com. We would love to hear your stories. We would love to boost you up and give you support. And maybe someone else has already been dealing with this and they can help you navigate those waters as well.
Yeah. Information.
Yes.
Momhood.
Yes. Until next time, thank you again. Have a great day.
Bye.